I teach the 7th grade science, I teach a section of 8th grade math, and then I also teach my 7th graders some algebra. What we do is we are a public school, we are a STEM school. We have grades 3 through 8. Every year we add an additional grade. So by the end, we're going to have a 3 through 12 building. When our kids graduate, they should have an associate's degree. We are part of the Willoughby Eastlake School District. The way kids get into our building is if you're identified as superior cognitive, you automatically get one of the 75 spots. Then the rest go to lottery. And if a kid leaves, we have a waiting list for every grade level, 100 deep. So every year, if 1 or 2 leave, we have another kid come in. Now, what we do at the School of Innovation is a little bit different. We do PBLs, so we do problem-based learning. With that, we look for real-life problems. Our problem that we started our year with was to determine the water quality of the Chagrin River watershed. So our kids, we first kick off the problem, then in the classroom we do background information, we do research, then once they have had the experience, they share what they have learned. So their problem statement for this year, which our students came up with, is how can we as ecologists analyze the water quality of the Chagrin River watershed in such a way we consider the organisms, habitat, chemical water testing, integrity of the river, the weather, and our safety. The background information that we did in the classroom, in science we did our properties of water, we did the water cycle, what is a watershed and water pollution. In ELA class they read the novel Long Walk to Water, which is actually set in Africa. And in social studies, what they did is they did a case study of the privatization of water in Africa. They also did a case study of the Three Gorges Gym in China, all water related. In math class, we focused on our data analysis standards first, so once we got the data from the river, our students knew what to do with it. Then we had a number of partners that we worked with. Chagrin River Watershed Partners, they're in downtown Willoughby. We partnered with them. That's where we got this map. They helped us pick 3 locations in Willoughby Hills, which is where our district is located, to test the water. We also worked with Lake County OSU Extension Office, Lake County Stormwater Management Department, Lake County Soil and Water Conservation District, Lake County General Health District. We also partnered with Cleveland Metro Parks and Lake Metro Parks because we were surveying park areas, so we had to get permits. Then once we got our data, we had to give that back to the park systems. Prior to going into the river, our partners actually came to the School of Innovation and did a partner day. They went, Jill from the OSU Extension Office borrowed Lake County Soils, Waters, Enviroscape, and showed how runoff works and different pollutions actually end up in our streams. Natalie from Lake County Soil and Water did an introduction on how to do a macroinvertebrate study. Kimberly from Chagrin River Watershed Partners introduced QHEI, so that's the habitat study that the EPA uses when they survey our river system. And Kimberly from the Stormwater District, she kind of introduced what's a watershed, how does it work, talking about the tributaries and how they run into channels. And once we had that background information, we met the partners out in the river. We surveyed 3 locations. One was Pleasant Valley Park. Then we did 2 locations at Cleveland Metro Parks. We did Buttermilk Creek, not the one that everyone thinks about, but we did it down by Old River Farm. And then we did the Chagrin River at Old River Farm. Prior to going into this, we knew the conditions. We knew that we had one that was a full attainment, one that was non, and one that was partial. So we kind of knew going in what we would have. At the river, we sent 25 kids to each location. Half of them did the QHEI, the habitat study, and half of them did the chemical water tests and the macroinvertebrate study. I used this grant to purchase the supplies for the macroinvertebrate study. So I purchased kick stains, dip nets, turbidity tubes, the magnifying containers, tweezers, paintbrushes, so everything you needed to use to actually find the organisms in the river, and then we would, with the help of Lake County Soil and Water, identify them. So we were looking for them in 3 taxes, and it's based on the pollutants that are in the water, what you actually will find. Once we were done with that, we came back into the classroom. The students compiled the data, which was a lot from 3 locations, and they did some research, created graphs, and then they wrote a formal lab report in ELA class. Now for a 7th grader, it was a lot. They partnered up. Most of them were about 20 pages long. But again, we have gifted and talented kids, so they are capable. Then the final thing we do is we share out their findings. So we had 3 share outs this year. We were hoping for 4. So they shared out to the partners. They shared out to parents because they are the community members. They need to know when they're fertilizing their yard where it's going to end up. They shared out with the 4th graders because a lot of our 4th grade standards are similar to the 7th grade standards. The final share out we didn't do was share out to our city officials because that was at the same time Willoughby City Council was having their issues. So that's a nice way of putting what happened. In this binder I do have samples of my students' work, the lab reports. I also have information from all of my partners because they came and they volunteered their time for free. This right here goes through and shares with like Lake County Soil and Water. They have things that you can borrow. They have programs for all grade levels that they will come and do, bring everything you need at no cost to you. So I have information about them. Now, as for the future, right now at the School of Innovation behind us is where Euclid Creek starts. So we have a big Euclid Creek restoration project going on right now. So we are working with Biohabitats, Lake County Soil and Water again, and Cuyahoga County Soil and Water. We are going to be responsible for surveying and maintaining that stream in the future. So this macroinvertebrate stuff that we have purchased, we will continue to be using. Do we hope to continue to do this PBL in the future? Yes, because it has covered a lot of our science standards. The kids love going in the river. It's a great experience for them. We try to go 2 days. Unfortunately, this year we could only go 1 day because the second day the river was way too high. But it was kind of nice to have the conversation of, okay, here's the website. You can check it overnight to see the river levels and how we monitor that. Also, oh my goodness. That's okay. Also, 8th grade has a lot of the erosion and deposition standards. So starting in 7th grade and doing water quality in the streams and the habitat study to then see how it transfers into the erosion and deposition, which was one of the 8th grade PBLs this year.